Both Oleksandr Usyk and Tyson Fury are elite fighters. But being elite extends beyond your technical and physical capabilities. It also encompasses your psychological constitution, how strong you are mentally in a boxing ring. And both of these guys have proven over the years to be absolutely rock solid in this regard. I know Tyson Fury's had his issues psychologically outside the ring, away from boxing. That's something different. But inside the squared circle, he's always been right there. We've never seen him freeze in a big fight. We've never seen him quit. Whenever he's been tested, whenever he's been down and hurt, he's always got back up to win. Similar situation with Usyk. He's always overcome adversity. Both of these guys are unbeaten. Both of these guys are veterans. They've been there, seen it, done it, bought the t-shirt several times over. And normally, when you're dealing with these veteran fighters and these big fights, I tend to say that the pre-fight antics, the stare downs and all that kind of stuff don't really mean anything. It isn't going to affect the outcome of the fight or the performances of the fighters normally, but there are exceptions. I'm wondering whether we saw an exception here at the Oleksandr Usyk Tyson Fury kickoff press conference, because this was by far and away the most aggressive I have ever seen Tyson Fury towards an opponent. Yeah, we know he's a trash talker. He likes to get in his opponent's face. He likes to mock them and say disparaging things. He likes to try and get a psychological edge where he can. But there was a disconnect here between the things that Tyson Fury was saying and the way he was behaving. Because he was saying that this is an easy fight, nowhere near the toughest challenge of his career, making out as though it's going to be a walk in the park. Well, Tyson Fury has had some easy fights. His trilogy with Derek Chisora, for example. Even the Francis Ngannou fight was supposed to be easy. I certainly think Tyson Fury expected it to be easy. Compare his behavior in the run-up to the Chisora trilogy and in the run-up to the Ngannou fight. Compare that to his behavior in this press conference with Usyk. When Tyson Fury thinks a fight's going to be easy, he's very relaxed at the presser. He isn't fired up like this. I don't believe Tyson Fury when he says that he thinks this is going to be an easy fight, a walk in the park. His actions are telling me otherwise. His actions are telling me that he deep down knows that he's in very deep here, especially coming off the back of that Ngannou performance. He will have known after that fight that that is nowhere near the kind of form that is necessary to beat a fighter like Oleksandr Usyk, who is a consummate professional and a pure athlete. You've never seen this guy out of shape. Ever. Tyson Fury, on the other hand, likes to yo-yo up and down in weight. And history shows that that eventually catches up with fighters. So Tyson Fury was tearing into Usyk with tremendous aggression. He was very aggressive at the face-off, sticking his forehead into Usyk's face. They had to be separated. Usyk, of course, was right there. He weren't backing down. But why was Fury doing this? Perhaps it's partly to sell pay-per-views. He is a showman after all, and he's a money man. Perhaps it's partly to try and intimidate Usyk. Maybe he feels like he needs to. But I think another big part of it is Tyson Fury trying to hype himself up. This might sound strange, but I think that the anger Tyson Fury expressed here wasn't really directed at Usyk on a deep subconscious level. I think Tyson Fury is more angry with himself than anything. I think he was slapping himself after that Ngannou fight saying, "This is not good enough." I think he's very upset with himself. He seemed to be trying way too hard to come across as this big bad bully. We know that Tyson Fury has this extrovert persona, which has always been part of his game. It's always been part of who he is. But I've never seen him take it to this level before. Now, with that being said, let's say he is a bit anxious about the task at hand. History has shown that Tyson Fury tends to perform at his best when he's anxious. He isn't an Anthony Joshua type who freezes a little bit and is scared to let his hands go. Fury goes the other way in the ring. The more anxious he is, generally the more aggressive he is. And in this fight against Oleksandr Usyk, I think aggression is Tyson Fury's friend. He says he can outbox Usyk and beat him whatever way he wants to. I'm not convinced of that. I've never been convinced of that. I've always felt that for Tyson Fury to win this fight, he's going to need to do something similar to what he did against Steve Cunningham. Standing off and boxing, I don't think is going to work. Maybe he'll prove me wrong. He's proven me wrong in the past, but I've been looking at Tyson Fury fights over the past couple years, rewatching them, and the slowdown is very noticeable now. Now, Usyk might not be quite as fast as he was a few years ago, but because he's a pure athlete, I think he's a bit more well-preserved. I think his reflexes are a bit more well-preserved. I think his speed is a bit more well-preserved. I think his fluidity is as well. I think there's been more of a deterioration in Fury, but it's been masked a little bit because he's been fighting plodders. When's the last time Tyson Fury fought somebody that actually had foot speed? I mean, Deontay Wilder's got decent foot speed, but his footwork is terrible. You'd have to go back to the Otto Wallen fight to see Tyson Fury in there with someone who's got a decent level of foot speed and footwork. And Otto Wallen is no Oleksandr Usyk. And you can do all the sparring you want to do in the gym, headgear, 18, 20-ounce gloves on. When you get in there with Usyk in a real fight, 10-ounce gloves, no headgear, he's going to be moving much faster than anybody you've been sparring with. He's technically better than anybody Tyson Fury could get in for sparring. He apparently wants to get Jay Opetaia in. That's a great sparring partner, but Opetaia is not the technician that Usyk is. He's a great athlete. He's got the eye of the tiger, Opetaia, but he's not the technician that Usyk is. At least not yet. If a boxing match breaks out, it might be nip and tuck for a few rounds, but eventually I expect Usyk to get the better of it. And once he starts getting the better of it consistently, Tyson Fury is going to be faced with a choice. You can either take this to the judges' scorecards and hope that you carry favor with them, that they'll be generous to you, or you bite down on your gum shield and you take the fight to this little man. I think it would be wise for Tyson Fury to do the latter if he's in that scenario where he's getting outboxed. And I expect him to do that. Tyson Fury has proven himself over the years to be a very intuitive fighter. Great boxing IQ. He reads the room well. Now, some people might dispute that following the Ngannou fight, but it's a bad day at the office. I personally thought Tyson Fury did enough to win by a couple rounds. It was a very low volume fight in truth. I think a lot of people are going overboard with Ngannou, acting like it was a hands down victory for him. I don't know what fight they were watching, but Ngannou wasn't landing enough punches for it to be a hands down victory for him. I'm not saying it was a hands down victory for Tyson Fury either, but it was no robbery. Anyway, I thought it was a very interesting press conference because of Fury's behavior. As far as Usyk goes, he was his usual self. Calm, smiling, doesn't back down, looks his opponent in the eye, doesn't care about what they're saying. Now, there was one moment in the press conference which triggered Tyson Fury in particular, and that's when Usyk compared this fight with Tyson Fury to David and Goliath. And he said that God would deliver the victory for him against Fury. Fury was very, very upset by that. Now, Usyk is, to my knowledge, a Christian. Tyson Fury is also nominally Christian. I say nominally because when you lie as often and as egregiously as Tyson Fury, how seriously can you really be taking your Christian faith? So he's nominally Christian. And in the run-up to one of the fights he had with Deontay Wilder, he tore into Deontay when Wilder revealed that he was connecting to his ancestral African spirituality, which is obviously pagan spirituality. And Fury, of course, used that to say, well, you're worshiping demons and whatnot, and therefore the Lord would never allow me to lose to a man like you. He can't come from that same angle with Oleksandr Usyk. All he said was, the Lord would never deliver me to you. He would never deliver me to you. Not a man with an earring. As if Usyk having an earring makes him less of a Christian than Tyson Fury, the man who lies like he's getting paid $1 million every time he does so. I wonder whether Usyk expected that type of response from Tyson Fury when he compared it to David and Goliath and conjured up all this biblical imagery. Was that what he was going for? I don't know. I'm not saying he was. It's just a thought that passed through my mind. You know, faith is a very important thing for a lot of boxers. There'll be some atheists out there who don't understand it, who think it's silly and backward and all this kind of thing. They'll say that God doesn't exist. It's a silly superstition. But they're missing the point. It doesn't actually matter whether God objectively exists or not. I mean, you can't prove or disprove it either way. But the fact that a fighter believes that God exists and that God has got his back and is watching over him and wants him to win and is going to help him win, that lifts the spirit of many fighters. It solidifies their resolve. It gives them extra confidence, extra motivation. It's the actual act of believing that there's this higher power guiding them that is the source of their strength. When Evander Holyfield beat Mike Tyson the first time, in a post-fight interview, he didn't even want to talk about the fight. He kept praising God and praising Jesus. And I remember at the time, I was at a friend's house and we were rewatching the fight a few days later. And this friend's mother wasn't really into religion, but she liked boxing, and she was shaking her head at Holyfield's post-fight interview. She couldn't understand why he was constantly banging on about God and Jesus and all this type of of stuff. Again, she was totally missing the point. Whether you believe in it is irrelevant. The fact that he believes in it is what helped give him the strength psychologically to beat Mike Tyson. Now, I say all that to talk about the times when Evander Holyfield lost and the times when Muhammad Ali, another man of faith, lost. When Ali lost to Joe Frazier in their first fight, afterwards, he was asked whether this had tested his belief in God. And Ali answered with words to the effect of, no, because deep down I know that I didn't do everything that I should have been doing. Before the fight, I was out drinking, and a man of his particular faith, they're not supposed to drink. He was out partying and doing this, that, and the other. He wasn't living in accordance to the rules of his religion. That's the way he processed that defeat. Evander Holyfield said similar things after some of his defeats, that he wasn't living and being a good enough Christian, wasn't praying enough, wasn't being pious enough, if you want to put it that way. And he said that when he ticks all the boxes that God wants him to tick, as well as training hard and praying, nobody can beat him. Now with Tyson Fury, does he really believe deep down in his soul that he's been a good Christian? Assuming he actually believes in Christianity at all and that it's not all just a front. If he's got some type of belief in it, does he think that he's been a good Christian up to this point? Does he think that he deserves victory over Oleksandr Usyk, given his behavior? Because if he's got some niggling doubt deep down that maybe he hasn't been a good enough person to deserve this victory against a fellow Christian in Usyk, maybe that's also part of the reason for his extremely aggressive behavior. Was it the behavior of a desperate man? A man who maybe on some level thinks that his God might forsake him in this instance in order to teach him a lesson. Getting pretty deep here. It's just me thinking out loud. I'm not saying that any of this is actually the case, but this is where my mind goes when I'm thinking about the psychology of fighters. Whatever the case is, I'm very much looking forward to this fight. February 17th is the date, Saudi Arabia. I'm expecting a compelling spectacle. I'm not saying it's going to be the Thriller in Manila necessarily, but I think it's going to be on a knife edge, especially in the early rounds. Let me know what you guys think about all this in the comment section below. And before I go, I want to give a shout out to all the new subscribers to my Patreon page. I cover loads of different topics in my weekly podcast, as you can see on screen right now, from current events to deep dives down the rabbit hole and everything in between. I'm really enjoying the feedback and the discussions we've been having on there lately. So if you'd like to join the conversation, just click the link in the description box below. Are you sick and tired of the mainstream mindset? Does the dogmatic conformity and pathological ignorance have you tearing your hair out in frustration? Then don't be alone. Come and join our brotherhood on Patreon. We stand as a beacon of reason against an army of insanity. You'll gain access to my weekly topical podcast, where we take more deep dives than Jacques Cousteau on an endless variety of subjects. There's also videos, interviews, live Q&As, as well as a vast back catalogue of previous episodes, including my popular Confessions of a Nightclub Bouncer series. You can listen via the Patreon app or download in high-quality MP3. Connect with myself and hundreds of other members in our Element chat group. There's no contract, no commitment, you can cancel at any time, and it's cheaper than a Mickey D's McMuffin. Just head to my Patreon page via the link below this video and select the tier called the Brotherhood of Reason. I'll see you over there.